I want to teach you my 5 golden rules for brain transformation. Now, unlike many mindset coaches, I'm not going to give you half truths or vague promises. I'm going to share with you what I see is left out 9 times out of 10, just misunderstood or maybe not really explained properly. I want to leave you after this masterclass with a complete picture to create real lasting change. So, rule number 1 is neuroplasticity. This is the most important rule. It is our brain's ability to change, grow, and develop as a result of how you use it. This process happens at any age. You can think of your brain a bit like sheep in a field. Super random analogy, but let's dive in. We have a flock of sheep in a field. Every day they walk down the same path to get to their field, which is full of grass. They follow the same path every single day and they get the same result. They end up in this grassy field. The grass is fine. It's okay. It's not super tasty, but it doesn't taste unpleasant. It's not super energizing, but it gives them enough of what they need. Because they've been going down this path day in, day out for months on end, you can really see the path is very well trodden. It's been worn away. It's just a dirt path now. But one day, their chief sheep, head of the flock, he looks around and he goes, I wonder if there is a better option. Suddenly he sees a different field full of luscious, nutritious green grass. He strives forward straight away, carving out a new pathway. He brings his flock to this new field, which they are ecstatic about. The grass is super tasty, super energizing, and they're literally in sheep paradise. Now, over time, they follow this new pathway to get this amazing result, this result that they love. Now, this path, once they've traveled it for weeks and months, becomes that dirt path. It's really easy to follow. Because they've not been following that old path to that old result, nature takes over, and it's now really hard to follow that path. This is how your brain works. The more you use a neuro pathway, the better, faster, and stronger it becomes at its job. So it becomes very easy for us to think and feel in certain ways. But the great thing is, once we understand how to activate and strengthen a different neuro pathway, we can make that one great at its job. The more we use it, the better, faster, and stronger it gets at its job. Now it is easier for us to think and feel in this new way. It becomes a normal way for us to be. Now, because we're not using that old neuro pathway, it becomes weaker and harder to activate. This is why I've been able to fully recover from things like severe chronic fatigue syndrome, because I've been able to rewire my brain away from activating and doing chronic fatigue and towards doing calm energy. I've not done chronic fatigue in, I think, 10 years now. It has just not been a part of my life. This is because of neuroplasticity. Another way to think of your brain is like a muscle. The more you exercise one muscle, the stronger it gets. If I went to the gym and I only exercised my right arm, it's going to become super buff, super strong. If I don't exercise my left arm, I might get some very strange looks at the gym, but it will be like a noodle arm. It'll be really thin and weak. But if one day I decide I'm going to even things out, now I will only exercise my left arm and I won't exercise my right arm. My left arm is now going to get stronger. It's going to become really good at opening jars. My right arm, on the other hand, will get weaker and weaker because I'm not exercising it. This again is how the brain works. The more you use a certain neural pathway, the better it is at its job. The less you use one, the worse it is at its job. It's just not very good at its job because it's weak and not well traveled. I hope this is really starting to sink in about how your brain works. You can start to use and activate different neural pathways with the strategies I teach you today. It is much simpler than you think. Rule number 2, this is where it starts to get interesting. Your brain cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imaginary. Now, I want to give you a sense of how crazy this is. In 1982, a study found those who visualized successful basketball shots only significantly improved their shooting accuracy. Even though they didn't touch a basketball, their shooting accuracy still increased. In 2004, a study found that those who visualized squeezing a hand grip, so they were strengthening the hand grip just by visualizing what that felt like, demonstrated a significant increase in grip strength. In 2013, a study found that athletes who used visualization increased their motor cortex activity. This means that athletes were able to activate the part of their brain that is very similar to if they were to actually do the physical training. In 2016, a study actually reviewed 40 other studies and again found those who visualized always performed better. This is because your brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imaginary. When you're visualizing, and you do it in an effective way, you are effectively creating a memory. Again, this is how I was able to recover from chronic fatigue and how I've helped individuals achieve peak performance is through visualization. Because when we visualize and we include all of our senses, the brain takes this to be a thing that's actually happened. That's why athletes will visualize a race. Michael Phelps was really into this. He would sit in the water and visualize in incredible detail as if he was actually swimming it. He's using present tense, noticing the smell of chlorine, the feel of the water on his skin, how his muscles are feeling as he is doing that action. It's really involving all of his senses. This is also why doctors will use a double blind test when testing drugs because of the placebo effect. It's really crazy how much of an impact your brain can have on your mind, your body, and therefore your reality, because it doesn't fully comprehend what is different between what we think and what is actually happening in our reality. Rule number 3, our words are intimately linked to our feelings. When we use words such as stress, anxiety, excitement, the brain is firing the neurons and creating the associated feelings. When we think certain thoughts, you create more feelings. This is really apparent when we look at someone with a phobia. If I'm coaching someone who has a spider phobia, they could just see a picture and freak out. Or when you're just starting to talk about spiders, they will start to have a very big reaction. This can be the same when you're talking to someone about heights. So you want to start to become aware of, how are my thoughts creating feelings? And then how are my feelings creating my thoughts as well? Rule number 4, your words are the language of your brain. Your words, the language you use, is activating the neural pathways within your brain and therefore creating your reality. Your words are the structure and architecture of your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. This is why I have a whole module, like 5 hours at least, I think, dedicated to our self-talk in my program, because it is so important to become aware of our thoughts because they are shaping our reality. One of the best ways you can start to rewire your brain is to become aware of your thoughts and start to shift them from doing something unhelpful to doing something helpful. I really don't like talking about feelings and thoughts in this black and white, positive or negative. You hear this in our society collective programming, that often a feeling or a thought is a positive or negative thing. And if it's negative, then that's really bad. What I would love you to start thinking about is, how is this thought serving my desired future self? Or how is this thought serving me today? How is this thought enhancing my performance or enhancing my life or helping me get the results I want? That's how we want to start to guide your brain and yourself, is through these questions. What is helping me, or what would help me more? What isn't helping me? This is going to be a much more powerful way to help you achieve peak performance, achieve your goals, than if we think something, we label it negative, we beat ourselves up around thinking it, and then we end up down this downward spiral or stuck in this loop. It's really important that we start to become aware of our words. You might be thinking, why on earth do I have Einstein and a unicorn in the bottom right of my screen? This is because I do not want you to think about Einstein riding a purple unicorn with three pink flying kittens following him along. My guess is you just created an image or some feelings in your brain, which is of Einstein riding a unicorn with some kind of kittens following him along. This is because for your brain not to think and feel something, it first has to understand the instruction you're giving it. So, in order not to think about Einstein riding a unicorn, your brain has to conjure up that image. So it goes, okay, this is what you don't want me to think about it. Got it. But by that point, it's already activated and strengthened a neural pathway and created those feelings. This is how our language is really important. So instead of saying, I do not want to feel stress or I do not want to feel pain, you want to start to shift this. I would like to feel comfortable. I would like to feel calm. We're activating the neural pathways that are going to serve us. This was a really fun study. 100 golfers were given confidence-inducing instructions before taking a putting challenge. These instructions were things like, you're going to crush it, you've done all the training, you're brilliant, you're amazing. We can't wait to see how well you're going to do. The other 100 golfers were given anxiety-inducing instructions. These were words more like, you've not done the training, this is really hard, it's way beyond your golfing skills, you're probably going to fail, don't get your hopes up. Now, what do you think happened? How much of an impact do you think just reading a paragraph of confidence or anxiety-inducing instructions can have on an individual's performance? You're probably already thinking quite significant since I'm bringing this up. But they were actually 10 to 15 centimeters closer to the hole, and they had an 8% increase in holes putted. And you may be thinking 8% isn't much, but this was just from reading a few sentences before doing this challenge. Think about what would happen and what would transform if you were to speak to yourself for days or hours on end in life and performance enhancing ways. What would happen to your performance? They also had, which was really interesting, increase in flow state. The athlete didn't have to think about what they were about to do. The movement just became more natural to them. They had increased attention, focus, and a significant reduction in stress. If you have something coming up that you are doing stress around, just by reading a few sentences that's going to tell you how calm and brilliant you are, that can really shift things for you. This is how powerful your language can be. Rule number 5. It's more of a question. How quick can we create positive change? If our brain is plastic, it's changing, growing, developing as a result of how we use it. We can use our words to impact our physical body in a quick amount of time, if you think about those golf athletes. And your brain can't tell the difference between what is real and what is imaginary. If we harness these powers of the brain or these superpowers, we can actually suddenly create change very quickly. That's how I was able to fully recover from severe chronic fatigue syndrome in just 3 days, going from bedridden to doing CrossFit, to walking 10 miles, to traveling and working around the world, because I was able to accelerate that neuroplastic process. What's been interesting with my journey with PMDD is the process to create change has been longer because I've had to go layer by layer into healing different levels of trauma. It is a question I want you to ask yourself is how quick can I create positive change? Because often you're told, and this is in psychological research as well, that change may not be able to happen. I'm sure we've all been told that at one point, that it can happen, but it could be a very slow and very hard process. These are beliefs which you're going to learn how important they are very soon. I want to pose the question, how quick can we actually create positive change with the right tools? Because it can happen in seconds, it can happen in months. We can create miraculous change in our lives in a shorter amount of time than we have previously been told. I'm living proof, and I have clients that are living proof as well.